What's up, gamers? This is a Battle Mallet Podcast, episode 35, Hex Ed Rivals Plus Review. For anyone that isn't familiar, the Battle Mallet Podcast is a podcast delving into the minds of 2 to 4 busy gamers. Maybe their annual journey to the Nova Open Convention. It's supposedly happening. We don't know if we're going to go or not. Fingers crossed, stars may align. Also delving into games that we love and balancing life with those games. My name is Jared Johnson, and tonight I am joined by Jason Tabled New Murray.
Hello. Welcome to yet another episode of The Two of Us.
Here we are. Just the two of us.
We can make it if we try.
And try we will. So this episode is going to be an overview / review of the Rivals Plus format for Warhammer Underworlds. Rivals Plus is constructing a deck from Warband specific cards and then any number of cards from any of 3 different sets. So you would pick your Warband cards and then choose another set, either Silent Menace, Illusory Might, or the Essentials pack. And then you can take any number of cards from those sets as well, and you construct your deck. So a little bit more deck construction intensive than your standard Rivals format. It's also been gaining lots of popularity at Nottingham. The Bugman's tournaments have been pretty popular over there. And we just recently ran a tournament using the Rivals Plus format, which we will dive into. So in this episode, we do want to cover the tournament that Jason graciously TO'd, that I got to play in, along with some other local members of the community. And then we're going to go through kind of what it looks like to build a Rivals Plus deck, the choices that you would make, whether you choose Silent Menace, Illusory Might, or the Essentials pack, why you make those choices, and also dive into maybe which warbands make sense for those choices. So it's a lot. Jason, you got anything to add before I guess we'll just take a break and jump into the tournament?
No, I'm excited to start talking about the tournament, and I think you covered it all.
Sweet. So so we'll take a break here, and when we come back, we will talk about the Rivals Plus tournament that Jason just TO'd.
Are you ready to talk about the Rivals Plus tournament?
So ready.
Oh,
so ready to talk about how, once again, the glass has eluded me. It's my favorite thing to talk about.
Man, you didn't even climb in my pocket this one. I mean, what happened?
Well, I don't think I was in anybody's pocket, really, other than maybe my own pocket.
There you go.
Or I was in Headcracker's pocket when in Tooftagger's pocket when he decided to fail 4 dice attacks in a row.
That was pretty painful to watch.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let's talk about, we had a tournament this past weekend, Rivals Plus tournament. Appreciate everyone that came out. We had 5 of us that showed up, so that means that I got to actually sit out and TO, which was an interesting experience because I've never this was my first TO experience.
Wow, you wouldn't know that. You did a great job.
Well, why? Thank you. I appreciate that. But it was an interesting experience to say the least. I get home and Sarah's like, "How was playing games?" And I was like, "Oh, did you have fun?" And I'm like, I did have fun, but do you know how many games that Daddy played today? 0. She's like, "What? 0? You were gone all day." But no, I was happy to do it. Really happy to build the community here in the greater Raleigh area. And more importantly, to step aside and watch 4 of what I think are some of our best local players go at it. I should say 3. I don't think I include you in that, but
that's fair.
But no, Steven, Jimmy, Trace, and yourself bringing out the Rivals Plus decks and warbands. But I definitely made a few mistakes as a TO, and I don't know if you noticed them or not. So,
I mean, I could pretend like I didn't notice. I think there was really only one mistake that I really noticed, and it, I think, but you caught it early enough that it didn't affect anything. It didn't change anything about the way that I played or the way that I don't think anyone else played.
Yeah.
But would have been interesting to run a tournament where a player that is not undefeated wins over a player that is undefeated. So
Yeah, it would have been interesting.
Why don't you walk through that?
So I put together the packet and put the packet was out there for like a month. I'm what it told me, and TOs will definitely agree, is that no one reads the packet, and I can now 100% relate to that, because so I put together the packet and I used the Warlords packet from Warhammer World. They put on, it was kind of like a Rivals Plus / some other things tournament not too long ago, about 30 days ago. But in that packet, they had like ways to score points for taking out a leader or holding an objective, or just like different ways of getting tournament points towards your total score. And I don't think that Underworld should have that. Like, that reminds me of all the other GW games. And I don't like the, kill the warlord style of point, or, four corners. And I don't think four corners were in there, but I, remember playing 40K and AOS, and those type of points, those tertiary objectives, if you will. So I deleted all of those out, but I kept their scoring system for wins and ties, because I actually kind of liked it. And in my head, I could not fathom a way that the points didn't add up and like reward the person that won the most games. And technically they would, but what could have ended up happening is, for a game that you won 2-0, you got 6 tournament points, right? For a game that you won, if you dropped a game, you got 4 tournament points. If you like tied, you went one win, 1 loss, and then tied the third round, you would have got 3. And then if you took a game from somebody, so like let's say you lost the match, but you went 1 and 2 during that match, you got a single point. So given the fact that it was only a 3-round tournament, what ended up happening is both you and Jimmy dropped a round but took a game in that round. So you got a point, and you both 2-0'd somebody. So you both had 7 points, where Steven, who was sitting at 2-0, dropped a game in both games, so he had 8 points. So going into the last round, if you or Jimmy would have 2-0'd your last opponent and got 6 points, you could have dropped a game, scored 13 points, and Steven, who ended up by going undefeated, could have had 12. And then I would have been like, oh my lord. So anyway, that was my mistake in writing the packet and not seeing all the angles and trying to modify something that was out there. So I'll make that adjustment in my packet going forward. But luckily, Jared, I had 2 trophies with me. So if it had happened, we just would have had 2 winners.
Oh, nice. So you solved a problem you didn't even know you had.
There you go.
Look at that forward thinking. I love it.
It was, yeah, there was an moment, though. I was like, oh, I'm going to have to make a TO call that goes against a packet that no one read. So
nice.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
The other thing that came up, too, is we stayed on time, which was the other thing that I was worried about, regardless of how many people that we had show up. Like, Underworlds has just grown from how long it takes to play a game to the fact that we're coming out of COVID, where the only time that we've played games are just, yeah, we had the league, but none of those games were timed. Like, you could have showed up and played however long you wanted, played 1 game a night. Heck, when you and I play, sometimes it takes us an hour and 15 minutes to get through a single match, like a single round, right?
Yeah.
So I was a little worried about that, but everyone finished. We ended up by going over 10 minutes on the first round because of setup, and we stayed about 10 minutes behind the entire day. So it was pretty good.
Yeah, I will say that, like, playing in person, getting best of 3 in a time limit for the first time in 2 years, 3 years. I don't know. When was that?
2.5.
Black Library weekend at the Fayetteville store. Oh, that was still best of 1.
It was still best of 1, yeah.
Yeah, gosh, I couldn't tell you the last time I played full on.
It was Nova.
Yeah, wow. Was it really?
Yeah, it was Nova.
Gosh, yeah. So 2.5 years ago was the last time I played a timed best of 3 round. Yeah, it was rusty. There was definitely some rust because it's like, wait, where are my boards? how do I do this? I don't just get to like do this all virtually and it's all done for me. Oh, I have to shuffle my cards again. Oh, I have to shuffle my cards again because I decided to not use these objectives or these upgrades or both. But it was good because I definitely feel like the first round was, we were all a little rusty, but I think rounds 2 and 3 we were pretty spot on. And and good opponents, actually working to speed things up because I think we all commented after the first round like, oh, yeah, all of these steps need to move faster.
Yeah. Well, just getting my observation, because that's the nice thing about TOing is you just get to sit there and observe interactions. And yeah, in the setup part of game 1, everyone was like, all right, let me get my tokens and set up my stuff. And there was like no sense of urgency whatsoever. I was like, all right, come on, let's go. So no, it was good. It was fun. It was also a strange experience to be the peanut gallery. Like, because I have such a love and a passion for the game, and I love to like teach and say, hey, why did you do this? Like, I mean, when we go to pickup games, like that's what I do all the time. Like, why did you do this? Or what were you thinking here? Do you really want to do that? Or hey, maybe you should take that glory, right? Like,
right.
Can't do that as a TO. So there was a lot of times that I was just like biting my finger. I'm like, oh my, what are you doing? You're forgetting to take glory. Oh, like you didn't delve that objective and you're just gonna get hit like for like the full. Like, why don't you delve? Why?
Yeah.
So, but it was very interesting. Like we, I know I as a player will often like in the middle of the game go, oh man, I should have moved that fighter over here and I should have done this and I should have done that. And like, or I do something and it's like, oh man, I made a mistake. I should have done this and I would have scored that. And then I repeat it, right? Because I'm telling myself, like, hey, the next time this situation happens, don't make the same mistake, you silly. But observing, because that happened a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. It happened a couple times during the games this past weekend. And I'm going to try to never do that again because a lot of times that it happened where you were in the position, like the person saying that was in the position that they were winning. And you could see the opponent just go, are you asking me to take it back? Like they didn't say it out loud, but you've said it so many times. It was like you were like implying it, and it made kind of this like awkward, kind of tense situation in the game when really it didn't matter because I saw a lot of mistakes from all players this weekend, and mistakes is probably too harsh. Different ways of going about things than my thought, seeing the cards, seeing the board state. They just made different decisions. And in the end, I don't think any of those quote unquote mistakes or different decisions played out in a negative way or like lost the game. There may be one or two, but it wasn't as many as I thought. So going forward, I'm not going to comment when I mess up as much.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I wonder if mentally when you're in a tournament setting like that, if there's a switch that gets flipped where it's just implied that you're not asking for a take back and you're just verbally processing something. Because I think that's like I don't think that I would ever ask to take something back in a tournament. Like
but just by mentioning it. So let's say like I mean everybody knew each other this weekend, right? So maybe I'm reading it wrong. But if you're sitting at Nova and that person across the table doesn't know you and nothing else has happened, right? Like you move a fighter and you're on the objective, you roll the dice and you've kind of moved on to the next step, but they haven't activated or they haven't played a power card and you're looking at it and you're like, oh, I should have moved them here. Not that you shouldn't have attacked, but you should have moved them here. And it doesn't really like make any impact on what happened, but you keep saying it. Like and the opponent kind of like looks up at you, are they like, no one wants to be a jerk. Most people don't want to be a jerk, right? Like,
Yeah.
but yet if they give you that advantage, like you've already made the mistake. So just, or you've played it differently than you intended to.
Yeah.
So you're just putting them in a bad situation. At least that's, and I did that. Like I definitely have done that.
Yeah. Maybe it's the repeated thing that makes the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, yeah, maybe that's it. I think that's a good insight. I think saying, "Oh man, gosh, I moved that fighter to the wrong spot." Okay, moving on. Like if you say it in that way, it's very clear. Like you're just verbally processing a misplay or a different way of playing. But then you've also verbally cued, "Okay, I'm done. Let's move on," which would be very different than sitting across the table from somebody that keeps going like, "Gosh, why didn't I put him there?" And then you play a power card, and then I'm like, "Man, why did I move him there?" Like without acknowledging, like, okay, yes, there's a difference there. I can see that. And as an opponent, like if somebody, I think you're right. I think if somebody says, I should have moved him somewhere else. Okay, your power step. I think that's a very different verbal cue than my opponent just repeating over and over and over. I should have moved somewhere else, or I should have attacked a different fighter, or whatever. So yeah, and in that regard, now I am going to be self-conscious about how I verbally process something that maybe I don't think that I did correctly, or that wasn't maybe in the best intention for me winning the game, especially if I'm up on glory.
Yes, but Underworlds is so swingy. It's like it's so hard, and I know locally some of our new players have not seen that yet. But you and I, we have so many games under our belt. We've just seen that like 3-4 glory lead. I mean, you observed that this weekend, right? Because your dice went cold.
Yep.
You're like, oh, this game is in the bag, and legitimately, if any one of those 4 attacks go through, the game is still in the bag.
Yep.
But they didn't.
No, they did not.
And Steven was able to chip away at that glory lead, and and it went the opposite way of what it looked like round 2.
Yeah.
So, well, good. So, I mean, that's my any other questions about like the eyes and the nines sitting on the sidelines just waiting for their chance to get in there?
I think it would have been fun to see what you put together for them as a kind of a ringer deck, so that nobody has to have a buy, but isn't necessarily playing a full tilt game.
Oh, they would have. Championship would have been championship. Another piece of glass to put on the mantle.
That would have been funny. You coming in as the ringer and getting a better record than everybody else.
How much card glory was in your deck?
That's a good question. A lot. Plus
15,
primacy.
16.
Plus primacy. Hold on. I don't actually have the deck pulled up. Let me.
Well, I think Steven said he was around 15. Trace and Jimmy, with the cards they were running, they had to be around 15 or 16, if not more.
I think I was a little high because I took some high risk, high reward stuff, which did not pan out for me. 17 total glory plus primacy.
17 plus primacy.
Yeah.
I had 13.
Killing it.
13. There was only one two glory card in the entire objective deck.
Nice.
It still would have been fun, but I'm glad it didn't. So that was the TO experience. What are your thoughts on Rivals Plus? Now this is the first time that we've really played it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
So I'm pretty sure I like it. And as a former, all we ever played was championship, because that's all that there really was to play. Other than, the occasional, I mean, we weren't calling it Rivals because Rivals was not a word, but when we introduced a new player to the game, we took the Beastgrave starter box and we said, okay, Do you want goat elves or do you want goats? And okay, here are your fighters. Here's your deck. You're done. But beyond that, we didn't do any like warband only games. So there was a lot of deck construction in Championship, and it felt very competitive. And I think Rivals Plus comes close to repeating that experience. When you play Rivals, you make one choice for a warband, and then gameplay comes down to in-game choices and dice. And with Rivals Plus, now you choose a warband, one of 36, 37, something, a large number.
I think we're at 30, 36, 35, something like that.
Something. It's an odd number because what's his name is out. Black Powder is out. So one of those choices times one of three choices for the supplemental deck. So whether you choose Silent Menace, Illusory Might, or the Essentials pack. So there's a multitude of choices to be made there. And then even within those, what cards from those supplemental decks are you choosing? What cards from your warband are you choosing to keep? And you have in-game decisions and dice. So now there's a lot more agency for both players, which feels more like an even playing ground. And now it is my choices against your choices, and less weighted towards, oh, well, you have chosen Iron Souls Condemners and I have chosen Dreepers Creepers. Like that, things are stacked heavily already in that alignment. And I think they get stacked a lot less heavily just by adding Rivals Plus, because now you can supplement all of the weaknesses of your warband or key into those strengths, and really, start to refine something down. Not as well as you can refine doing full-on Championship format, but I mean, it certainly felt good to play against, and I credit to my opponents. It felt like they had all made good choices, in their deck construction, good choices in their gameplay to really scratch that really head-to-head. Like I'm busting my head against your head trying to win this game out, versus, oh, like you chose Dreepers and I chose the spoilers. I guess we know how this game is going to go.
Yeah. Do you think, well, first off, can you believe it? 39.
39.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Because to your point, like, I mean, that's one of the things that has kept Rivals very fresh and fun for me, even though I still love Championship, is because it's more about warband decision. Like, you read the meta on, is somebody playing a big beastie? Like, is someone playing a Kanan? Is someone playing Rothgorn? Or is like the meta more Gribblies, 2-wound fighters that are out there? Or is it, kind of like what we saw this weekend? Is it 4-man, 4 character warbands or resilient elite warbands in Steel Hearts? And then the warband is part of that construction choice from a rival standpoint, and that is further shown in Rivals Plus. Is like that is part of a major part of picking if you're going to be successful or not. And I'm not saying like, yes, there's going to be innate warbands that just have better odds, right? Like Dreepers, because they have good fighters and they have good cards. But what warband, like if you think everyone's going to be playing a death warband, like what warband goes into them well, right? Like what warband has access to cleave or has access to ensnare to go up against them. So I think that is really cool part of Rivals and Rivals Plus. I guess another point is everyone, like, Rivals, an average game is what, 11, 12, 13 glory. What
Yeah.
was your, like, average game for glory in a Rivals Plus game?
I mean, average is not a good choice for me. My
But it was
losses were pretty low.
low.
Yeah, but my wins were all pretty high. So I mean, like I scored 20 glory in one game. I scored 17 glory in one game. So I mean the ceiling goes much higher
Hmm.
in Rivals Plus.
And then you also scored what, 4 or 5 in some?
Yeah. Yep.
But isn't that the way championship goes?
I mean, I guess that's true.
Especially
Is
with an aggro warband.
Yeah, if you get shut down early, somebody can keep you from doing what you're trying to do, especially with an aggro warband, then it can flip down pretty quick for you. That's a good point.
But the other piece of that is even looking at the other games, right? So I guess just for clarification, we had a Canaan's Reapers won the event, right?
Yep.
So there was that. Second place was Steelhearts. Third was the Mad Mob,
Yep.
and then fourth was
Agors.
Magor's Fiends, right? So just for the context of what we keep referring to, um, but watching all the games, like, they all were in double digit glory. Most of them were above 15.
Yeah.
I think McGore's and Steelhearts at one point, I think they had like a 13-14 game only because fighters didn't die. So
Yeah. Yeah. That was it.
So I think that the glory ceiling goes a little bit back up with Rivals Plus. Did you felt like you were missing anything though? Like missing the challenge while building and constructing, or your opponent having an unfair advantage?
I don't think so. I don't think on the deck construction side. I think that there were some gameplay mistakes that I made that probably cost me games, but I don't think that it was anything about deck construction. Other than, I mean, I maybe could have taken easier to score, but like those, I didn't feel like I didn't have choices for those, I guess is a good point to make. Like I actively chose higher risk, high reward cards, knowing that there were lower risk, lower reward cards available for me. So yeah, like I don't feel like I was missing anything. I think the one thing that it really would be missing would be like stretching play style. Like with the Mad Mob in Rivals Plus, you're still kind of stuck on some aggro. Like I mean, really digging into the aggro more so than in Championship, because in Championship there are so many ways to gain primacy and so many ways to score off of having primacy or not having primacy. I mean, there are cards, I mean, Underdog is a great one, right? Like, let's say you kill somebody and you get primacy, but you got the glory for the kill, probably some objective off of that. So you're already up 2. Well, then there are cards to then give your opponent primacy. And then, so now, okay, they go up 1, but now you get 2 more. So it's still like a net 3 gain off of that play.
Yeah. And just to clarify, an Underdog for our listeners that aren't familiar with that card, it's a 2 glory score in the end phase card, where if your opponent has the primacy token, you get the 2 glory, right? So,
yeah.
Or they've scored 3 more objectives than you.
Yes.
One or the other.
Yeah. Good call. There is that. It is a hybrid objective. And everyone forgets about the hybrid version.
But yeah, I mean, so what you're saying is, just so I'm following, is if you're an aggro warband, like the Rivals style warband is aggro, Rivals Plus, you're not flexing into a control build.
No, not. Okay. It is not likely. It is not likely.
So really, that rival, like, all that does is the plus gives it more juice to be more aggro.
Yeah, or flexibility. Yes. No, it does. Yeah. So everything that I picked was designed to hit into the aggro or maybe score objectives that from so I chose Mad Mob and Essentials, and I included Branching Fate because there's 3 dice attacks in Headcrackers, and I put Dark Darts in because it's a ranged 3 dice attack, so it could give me multiple opportunities to score that. But everything else that I took, Fighter's Ferocity, extra damage, Glory Seeker, extra damage, Great Fortitude, extra resilience, so surviving to be able to swing back, great strength. Center of Attention, pull somebody in if I get knocked back, countercharge, so get, help me reposition or get better positioning. Duel of Wits just gets more cards, and Sidestep, again, that's a, help out the aggro situation more than anything else. And then everything else was either kill things or survive.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So do you think that Rivals Plus is where we go locally? Does it ever go further than Rivals Plus?
I don't think it'll go further than Rivals Plus anytime soon.
Okay.
And I think this is, we've had conversations not as part of the podcast around this. Is I think that the shutdown, I think that COVID did real damage to Warhammer Underworlds and its play, especially here in the States, at the championship level, because people aren't getting together with their local communities. Events weren't happening, and so it just doesn't exist. So I don't know that it's where the game goes anytime soon for our community. I think Rivals Plus will scratch that itch for anybody that wants that itch scratched. And then Rivals is always a fallback for just fun pickup games, and where the goal is to just hang out and roll dice and play games.
Are you okay with it? Like, let's say 2 years from now, all we have is Rivals Plus. Like, does that scratch enough itch for it to still be competitive enough for Jared?
Are there championship events happening?
No. Like,
or is
literally,
the whole everything is going to Rivals Plus?
No, I'm not talking like globally or nationally. I'm talking just in Raleigh. And let's face it, like you and I, we get to attend one large event every year.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, even we've been twice. Like, so let's just throw that out.
Sure.
Like, we're just playing in Raleigh. We're just playing with the same 10 to 12 people, or, some go, some new, whatever.
Yeah.
Rivals Plus, is it enough for you to be like, there's enough here to figure out over and over again?
I think there is enough now. I think that what's going to determine whether that continues or not is how the game designers handle it moving forward. Like, what do future supplemental deck options look like? And if there are tough choices to be made in choosing which supplemental deck to use, then I think it does scratch that itch. I think that, not to spoil it, but I think that if we continue to sit in the kind of world where we're sitting in right now, I don't know that there is a lot of choice for most war bands.
Okay.
Which could be a little frustrating. That's not to say that I wouldn't find it fun. And it still feels like a competitive head-to-head when I sit across the table from somebody, more so than just a Rivals format. But I think that there could be a danger in not forcing players to make tough choices in the supplemental deck that they choose.
Okay.
What about you?
I don't know. I didn't get to play. I didn't get to have this experience.
Fair enough.
But I think you're right. It just depends on, do we continue to get these supplemental decks going forward, and are there tough choices? Because I think, in our next segment, you're going to see that I think differently. Like no spoiler because I didn't get to play them, but my Eyes on the Nine did not pick Essentials. And it wasn't because I was trying to make the deck less efficient from a play standpoint, if I had to play as the TO, it was just I thought that there was better options. So
Yeah.
So we'll see. Like, yeah. So if there is whatever a deck a season or a deck once a year, like to give you those choices. But yeah, I think we're to the point here that we should go to the next because I think we both want to say something about the decks.
Yep.
And we've covered the tournament. We've covered your experience. I think I'll close with I would be very excited to play Rivals Plus. I was going, into the tournament. Like if I had to play, I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun to see. I love Rivals for the fact that I get to put my 39 painted warbands. I get to rotate those through and play them all. I do like that part of it. But adding a different flavor to each warband to make it a little more my own is where the game lives for me. So I think I would really enjoy Rivals Plus. So, but with that, we'll take a break and we'll come back and we'll jump into these decks.
And we're back, and we are here and ready to talk about, I guess, building a deck in Rivals Plus and why you would choose anything other than the Essentials pack. Let's just get that out of the way. So if you listened to the last segment, you didn't jump through with the timestamps. I was alluding to maybe the current state of Rivals Plus lends itself to there not being tough choices to be made for most warbands. And that is because the Essentials pack is packed, and it is packed with good choices.
It's packed with garbage.
It is.
This
garbage.
is this is what.
Garbage.
So all four of you took Essentials at our Rivals Plus.
Yes.
Except me if I would have played.
Yes.
The most recent event at Bugman's, 25 of the, I think it was like 38 people.
It was the Essentials pack.
Was the Essentials pack.
Yep.
So I obviously, yet again, think differently than everyone else out here. But this is why.
Yeah.
Because I think there's like the surges in the Essential pack one is good. The other ones pigeonhole you into a certain set that you have to do. Right. And I don't know if the rest of the objectives offset the fact that I'm going to take one objective compared to the two other decks that we have. And we'll get into those two other decks. Because the nice thing about Essentials is you get 60 cards to pick from.
Yep.
Where the other ones, you're getting 32.
Yep.
So it is twice as big. We'll just call it twice as big, even though it's 2 cards short or 4 cards short of it. So there's a lot more choices. And I'd be hard pressed saying that I couldn't make the gambits and the upgrades work from this deck. But I think there's a certain set of warbands that like the objectives that we're about to talk about.
Okay.
And the only surge objective that I'm taking out of this that I think fits into, it doesn't force your play style, is Branching Fate.
Yeah.
Because what did we do with all the Rivals decks, Jared? We picked 2 very easy score surges that kind of started the glory.
Yep. That's true. And there is really only one.
That doesn't make you make a charge. Like Strong Start, you need to go first or survive the first attack.
Yep.
And you literally could be putting yourself in a bad position to score Strong Start.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, No Remorse requires a low wound
damage
target with a high damage attack. And I mean, we've discussed this at length. Damage 3 out the gate is pretty rare in Rivals. It becomes a little more prevalent in Rivals Plus, mostly because Steel Hearts exists and they have two smash 3 damage fighters. But No Remorse and Strong Start are not easy surges to score. And Victorious Duel is the one high risk, high reward card that I did not take. But I mean, that one's pretty easily defended against, is just keep your leader away from their leader.
So Victorious Duel is fine if you're playing Mollog, right? Like,
Yeah, no, that's true.
There are like Victorious Duel has had its day in the sun, and it's not a terrible surge because it's worth 2.
Yep.
But you had like you lose your leader, it's done. Let's say your activation 2 of round 2, and you can take out their leader with your dangle bro.
Right.
You're gonna tell me you're not gonna do that? You're just gonna let their leader run ram shot through the rest of your.
No, I'm totally going to take out their leader with my dangle bro.
So there you go. There's a surge. Boom.
Yep.
Done.
Yep.
And then, like I said, Strong Start. Like we've played with Strong Start a long time in Championship, and it's a great. If I'm taking Essentials, yes, Strong Start's making it in my deck, but it can force a charge, and then I get 4 whacks back at you.
Or you score another surge, kill a fighter with that surge, and then you draw Strong Start.
Yes.
Because that happened to me.
No, see?
Yep.
Bricking your deck.
Now my deck is bricked. Make sure I say that properly.
Not like the pre-show.
Not like the pre-show.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So branching fate is the only again, if I'm taking this, I'll dabble in No Remorse. We saw it in our little play test this weekend. Someone took No Remorse, but everyone took Elite Warbands, so that never scored.
Nope.
So anyway.
Yeah. No.
Let's talk about the other one. So timeout. Reverse. So as we're talking about these cards, we should mention more warbands that like to take it, right? Yes. So Branching Fate, anyone that has a 3 dice fighter out the gate is
or multiple 3 dice fighters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Branching Fate is a very, very good objective. So who has 3 like other than Thorns? Who started with 3 dice and Mad Bomb? Tooth-Dagger.
And then both Headcracker and Daco go to 3 dice when they inspire.
Okay. So that fits there. Steelhearts had 3 dice.
Yep. I don't know if you know this, but there's a ploy in the Essentials pack called Determined Effort. Plus 1 dice.
But it's not enough if I only get plus 1 dice one time.
Yeah. No, I mean, you don't want to take Branching Fate if all of your fighters are on 2 dice.
This is like 44%. 44% it scores, which is a good odds, but you burn your resources and then you never have another chance.
Right.
Strong Start is any aggro warband, like anyone that can dome someone. And then I think I mentioned Mollog with Vicious Duel, or even Canaan's Reapers.
Canaan's Reapers is a good choice.
Hidden for 3.
Yeah. Hrothgorn, good choice.
The Pirate.
Not the Pirate. Well, I mean, he's not Isaac. He's not a bad choice for it. He's not as resilient as Hrothgorn.
He's not, but if you're.
But he's range 2, 3 damage, just like Kanan.
Okay.
So.
All right. So then moving on to the end phase objectives, I think we have to talk about making a statement.
Yeah. Gosh. Painful. It's a great card in Hero Deep. So for this an end phase, if your warband holds each objective in one opponent's territory. 3 glory.
3 glory.
For standing on one objective.
But it's so easy to counter.
It is easy to counter.
And in Championship, it gets some play, but not as much play because it's easy to counter.
Yeah. I think it's harder to counter in. I think it could be harder to counter in Rivals Plus because you may be more worried about making sure that you can score your stuff, especially in game 1, than you would be in preventing your opponent.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a Hero Deep card with the Gloom.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, if I'm playing Rivals Plus and someone has Essentials, I'm going to flip.
Yeah, just flip one. Just move a fighter onto one and flip it. And just
flip it.
Let it sit in the back, and who cares?
Yeah, and you're probably right. Like, in Championship, it's a little bit harder because you have people that are playing objectives more.
Yeah.
So Okay.
Or you may even naturally counter it in championship because
Yeah.
yeah. But I don't know how many people are taking hold objective cards in Rivals Plus, like hold in your territory cards.
I mean, I would take 1 through 5.
Yeah, why not? Those are great cards, especially because you know where the numbers are. I guess you know where your numbers are.
Your numbers are, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so making a statement, and that really would fit with anybody that wants to play in the other person's territory.
Yep.
Especially if you're going up against a non-objective warband. It's a good card to take. Path to Victory, is another good one. Standing on 2 objectives, holding a 2 objectives when you've taken out an enemy fighter during the previous action phase. Again, any aggro warband likes to do this. It's not as fluent though, because you have to be standing on objectives.
Right.
So you have to delve them. You have to have 2 fighters positioned on objectives while still taking out a fighter. See, and that's where this is where I start, like after making a statement, this is where I start to lose why Essentials is good, right? So
yeah, I can tell you Path to Victory, not always easy to set up.
Okay. And do you think in Rivals Plus, is there enough glory to score great gains?
I had it scored on me.
Did you?
I did. Yeah.
Just once though?
No, like twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So great gains is you score 5 glory in this round.
Yeah.
And for our listeners, typically the way that this is scored is you'll get a surge and a kill, so that gets you to 2.
Yep.
You'll either get another kill or another end phase score, and then that brings you into this. To score that 5, because the end phase, the way that you rotate through the cards, you can select what you score in the end phase to add to that 5 glory points to score this.
And if you have making a statement or 2 versions of making a statement.
Yeah, for Steel Hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so it was Jimmy took great gains and scored it. Both games that I lost to Jimmy, he
scored it because he had a 3.
Because he had 3 glory any end phase cards. So
yeah.
Yep.
There's not a lot of score 3 glory cards in Rivals Plus period.
Right.
So okay. So all right, now maybe it's ticking back up with those. I think the other one to talk about out of the Essentials, well, really 3, the 3 third end phase cards. I think the most prevalent, at least around here with us locally, is Pure Carnage, where it's 7 fighters out of action, correct?
Correct. Yep.
In the third end phase, 7 fighters in total. That's including enemy fighters and your fighters for 3 glory.
Yep.
And this one plays really well into larger warbands, like when you're kind of like trying to mitigate losing glory. So like Canaan's Reapers, we played it this week. We see it a lot in Reavers. So if you were playing Reavers, this might be a reason to take Essentials.
Yep.
Or the goats.
The spoilers.
The spoilers, because then you can double down.
They have their 2 glory. I can't remember the name of it, but 2 glory because 5 fighters are out. 5 total fighters are out, and there's at least 1 friendly surviving fighter.
Yep.
Double down on that. Yeah. I like it.
But in the end, if I'm just looking at, if I have my warband and I'm solely picking my complementary deck off of what I think my warband does, and I look at these objectives, I know that this weekend we had 3 aggro warbands that chose Essentials, but there are more hold objectives in this deck than there are aggro.
No, that's true.
So
Yeah.
But anyway, the objectives are the weakest. Let's move on to the gambits.
Oh, the gambits.
So, what do you like out of here?
Yes.
All of them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're all. Yeah. There's a lot good in here. So just positioning wise, you got center of attention, confusion, sidestep,
Mirror move.
mirror move, counter charge. So free movement
Mm-hmm.
on all of these cards. And that, I mean, being able to move without making a move action, being able to get back adjacent to a fighter without having to charge in order to get attacks off is huge. Duel of Wits is nice because it lets you cycle.
Well, it's I think the other key thing too is when you're building a Rivals Plus deck, restricted cards don't matter.
That's true. Yeah.
So Duel of Wits is restricted because it is that strong.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, like this is where Essential starts to win because there's 20 gambits and there's maybe 3 that I would argue like don't take those.
You're not taking Lethal Ward.
Correct.
You're not taking Inspired Command.
No. Inspired Command is good.
Oh no, that one is good.
Yeah. I'm not taking
Flickering Step. Roll 8 dice, choose one fighter.
Keen Avarice. Yeah. I'm not taking that one. And
yeah, because you play it, your opponent that's sitting on an objective token is just like, okay, cool, I'll delve it.
Maybe Misdirection, just because there's not a lot of opponent choose.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anything else? I think if you picked it like Daily Robbery, I can't believe that.
It was a bubble. It was a bubble card for me. Yeah. I ended up not taking it. I don't know how much of a difference it would have made. It's 50-50 anyway, and it has to be in your hand when you need it. So
the only other one that I would say I would not take is No Time, just because I don't, given Rivals limited format, I don't know if I need to shut down the power step as much. Maybe in certain matchups I do if I'm playing Hold Objective, but is not as prevalent as we'd like. I think that the big winners out of here besides Dual Wits, so just to stay in our normal format of pick 3, it would be Sidestep is just always good.
Yep.
Mighty Swing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing like watching 2 orcs die. One attack.
In Center of Attention, just because Center of Attention, it can be used in so many different ways. Whether it's what you want to push you want to push them, you want to set up a Mighty Swing, you want to set up a movement for you. It's a really, really good card. And I'll throw a honorable mention into Inspired Attack just because it's +1 damage, +1 dice.
Yeah.
So that's all I gotta say about Gambits.
I like it.
They're great.
They are great.
This is what makes it hard to not pick Essentials.
Yeah, it's like, I guess maybe I won't score the objectives, but I'm gonna kill all of my opponent's fighters, so it doesn't matter. So I kick things off for Gambits. What do you think about the upgrades, Jason?
I mean, they're just as good, and I think the big thing with the upgrades is you have access to a lot of damage, which is what we've always harped on that you don't have in Rivals.
Yeah.
The fact you have Fighter's Ferocity, Glory Seeker, and Great Strength, that is very hard to overcome to not pick this deck to build with.
Yeah. And then there's everything else that's in there that's good too. Great Fortitude. Who doesn't like +1 wound?
That's correct.
Swordbreaker is a great attack action upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Darts.
So Swordbreaker's 3 hammers, 2 damage.
Yep.
It has another thing on a critical hit. You can make the your target discard a attack action upgrade.
But
doesn't really come in. It's you're taking it for the 3 hammer, 2 damage.
yeah, that you're putting on like dibs or
Yeah.
gnarl or
Yeah.
some 2 wound 1 dodge fighter that's
2 wound 1 dodge fighter.
You just need to be a missile. And then I mean there's other stuff that's in there that's good too. Duelist speed is great for Kanan. Great for Hrothgorn or for Malog. And even quickening Greaves. Being able to push at the end or push at the beginning.
Yeah.
To score making a statement or to get into gloom or out of gloom or
just to gain 2, like if you have a 3 wound or 3 move fighter, you equip this in the round, you push at the end of the round, and then you push at the beginning of the next round, right? So
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I
like it.
There's a lot to compliment everybody. So yeah, just in summary, I'm not big on the objectives. I think you really need to leverage the warband to score some of the objectives. There are 4 or 5, we'll say 4, that you can make any warband work with. But the gambits and upgrades complement every warband in the game the way they want to be complemented or what you want to get done with them.
Yeah.
So we will rate the Essentials pack for Rival Plus what, Jared?
Gold.
Platinum.
It just gets that platinum even with the weaker objective side.
Yes, and I think you alluded to this in the last segment. Is this could be very difficult for Rivals Plus to live and inspire creative thinking in the future because this deck or these cards are kind of like the no-brainer.
Yeah.
But to grow the game for us, I think it's kind of good because you get a new person in through Rivals and they're like, hey, let's try deck building. Let's try to take this game to the next level. Well, what should I buy?
The Essentials pack.
The Essentials pack. Just go buy the Essentials pack.
Yeah. And you will be able to make something happen for every warband that you own.
Yes.
Yep.
Because they're essential.
They are essential.
All right. Let's move on to another one.
All right.
So the platinum's done.
Platinum's done. So you alluded to this. Eyes of the Nine. What'd you take?
Oh, you're going to make the word I can't say. Illusory might.
Illusory might.
I like this deck.
You do like this deck.
I'm using a lot of the cards in Championship. I built with it. It's just fun. It complements objective play. It complements the warbands that I like to play that have multiple wound fighters. Just as like our Rivals review of this, right? But now the fact that I can pick and choose out of it really can leverage the shenanigans that I want to do in my deck building. I think the no-brainer from an objective, just to kick it off, is Horrors in the Dark.
Yep.
So Surge, Hybrid, score this immediately after activation if 2 or more friendly fighters are in cover hexes that are not in your territory, or 2 or more friendly fighters hold objectives that are not in your territory. We covered this in the review, but it can fit aggro, it can fit hold objectives. Yes, you have to be in enemy territory or not your territory, but it's easy to set up during placement of your gloom hexes, and it's a score immediately. And if you have a push, you might be able to even score it, kind of through the power step into your activation.
Yeah.
Grimwatch, like this card.
Yeah. Be pushing anyway to keep people out of your territory. So.
Mm-hmm. The problem I had with building the deck, Jared, is to take some of the other surges. You have to kind of leverage this deck even more. So illusionary nemesis, like you have to have illusions in your deck to run that.
Yep.
Right? Illusionary. God, I hate that word. I just hate it. It does not compute in my brain.
God.
Scored immediately after a friendly fighter. Like, never mind. You just have to have an illusion in your deck, right? Like, so I'm not even gonna really, because it's not, unless you're building for it. And I did with the Eyes of the Nine. I did build. The only one other score immediately that you may take if this is the deck that you're selecting is Shock Troops. So it's score this immediately after an activation if one or more friendly fighters hold an objective in enemy territory that has a number equal to the number of the fighter's upgrades. So kind of have to like look at those objectives when you're placing them down. If you get objective 1, place it where you can get into the territory, flip it, and have 1 objective.
Yeah.
Or one or more friendly fighters have more upgrades than there are surviving enemy fighters. Matchup dependent. But if you're playing against Steelhearts, you can do this.
Just throw 4 upgrades on somebody.
Anything out of the end phase ones that you might take if you selected this?
I mean, we talked about trace the ley lines.
Yeah.
I mean, you know the numbers, so you know, you might be able to figure that out. I feel like there was another one, but now I can't remember.
Out of Time.
Yeah, that's the one.
So just holding, your warband holds the number of objectives equal to the round, or the number of friendly fighters in cover X is equal to the round.
Yeah.
So again, early game, really easy, 1 glory.
Yep.
So that's kind of the objectives that I'm building around. Shadow Match is also one of my favorite to take, and that's just you're holding an objective that's equal to your wound characteristic, or you have upgrades equal to the wound characteristic on the fighter. Again, only 1, and that's like kind of the downfall of this deck. It's only 16 glory, like that you get to choose from while building, so it's kind of low. But what war bands you think we're taking this deck with, Jared? Like we covered in the other segment, we thought Gits could run this deck.
Yeah.
Just straight up run with Gits, right? And I think like if I get to pick Gits faction cards and this,
yeah, I think that gets pretty good.
I think it does.
I mean, I think a lot of the stipulations that we put on the previous episode, I think you would need a variety of wounds characteristics, and probably more than 3 fighters. Be able to have fighters near objectives, or be able to push fighters onto cover hexes, or what have you. So I mean, Eyes of the Nine, not the worst choice. You got 4/3 2/2 coming out the gate as far as wounds characteristics are concerned.
Yeah.
Or if somebody bops the blue, you've even got a 1 wound fighter. Flips to the brims. So I mean, even that's still an option.
The whole deck was really, for me, why I chose it with Eyes of the Nine was I kind of had the bully, Chikarik, I forget his name, right?
Kacharik, I believe.
Chikarik. He sits in my territory, kind of protects my territory. I also have Vortimus to do that as well. And then you use the upgrades on the 2 Dangle Bros.
Yeah.
Narvia and Turash, I believe their names
Turash,
are.
yep. They are. Got it.
Throw them away. Like they're fast, they can run in and use the upgrades to do damage, and then really the blue just sitting in their territory. Holding objectives and shooting when he can, but just being that nuisance. And if you bop him, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Because they have some in faction ploys or gambits that I would take with, as well as magic. But here I was taking like Cover of Darkness to push, Illusory Find to get stuff out of my deck.
Yeah.
I also think that this complements. Oh, just had it and I lost it.
Oh no,
just ran away from me.
that's terrible.
Oh, rats. So I
Oh
mean, we
yeah,
talked about that in the other episode. Again, the rats have a lot of in faction cards that are going to complement them as is, but I think with the weapons, just
yeah.
put it over the top.
Lurking Skaven out the gate with the Phantom Fists, throwing a 5-move 2-dodge fighter wherever you want and busting somebody for 2 damage pretty accurately.
Yeah. And the other faction that I'm going to throw out there that I think that really fits in here, really well is Black Powder. Black Powder.
Oh yeah, because you got the monkey and the
And
2 Noblars that can all take attack
take the
action upgrades.
weapons. Yep.
Yep.
Because he's going to do what you're going to take the cards that complement Black Powder himself, and then you take these cards to kind of complement the rest of the warband. And I think that that's where the Rivals deck struggles, is there's just not a lot of cards to complement the other fighters, and this does it. So
Yeah. I like it.
And then just for like, so the best upgrades would be, Fist, Shield, Spear. Ephemeral Fortitude gets a ton of play in Championship.
Yeah.
I think you can leverage this here. And then Weapon Master, even though it might not see as much play in other formats, the fact that you have access to the illusionary upgrades, like Weapon Master, is real easy to get on and then
Yep.
get the perk for it. So
Yep. Yeah, because I mean it applies. If you put Phantom Shield and then either of the other range 1 or range 2 attack action upgrades on, then you have paid no glory. And now you have a 3 smash, 3 damage attack, or a 2 smash range 2, 3 damage attack. So pretty hard not to complain about. Are you on mute, Jason?
no.
Don't think that was true.
So I just said cool. Is there anything else that we have to hit on this? Like,
I don't think so.
Large warbands with like expendable fighters looking for the glass cannon.
Yep.
Just another point about Gits too is they have infestation, which gets you over the glory cap. So
yeah, it does. It's 5 glory for holding all
for
objectives in 1 tier.
And yeah, for holding all the objectives on the board. So
all the objectives on the board.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You'll get it once. Or if you're playing against us.
Always, because you don't block it. So
yeah. It's perfect.
All right, let's move on to the last one.
The last one. The old Silent Menace.
Silent Menace.
Dennis the Menace.
So what warbands are we taking with this? So we've already established that we don't like this deck by itself.
No.
Does it hold any water, like as a building tool?
So I think you actually run into a similar problem that you run into with the Essentials pack, is I don't think that the objectives are very good. But I think that the gambits and the upgrades have some teeth to them. So I think probably the only surge that I really like in this deck is Impending Doom. Okay. So that's score this immediately after an activation if 1 or more enemy fighters are adjacent to 2 or more friendly fighters. I mean, that happens a lot, or it's something that you can pretty reasonably set up. But the other surges are pretty specific. They would not be cards that we would feature in a review where it may okay, I'm definitely taking this, or this is the one that I want to hunt for because it's going to help seed that early glory.
Yeah, I mean, Orchestrated kill is a good one for certain warbands. And there's
Yes.
a card in here that gives you an extra support that you could make that one work as your 2, but I think you are right. I think we're back to the essentials for at least surges. Like they're
Yeah.
But then again, IM didn't give us a whole lot of surges either. So
No, it did not. Nope.
But I would argue that cold-blooded killers for just having two enemy fighters out of action is
Yep.
really good, and demolish the opposition is played a lot in Championship.
Yes.
So that's a score in the third end phase if there are no enemy fighters in enemy territory, or there are no more than one surviving enemy fighter.
Yep.
And just looking back at the games that we saw, that probably would have scored, and it's a three glory card. So
yeah.
And Promise of Destruction for anyone that has persisting gambits could work. So
yeah, because that one's score this in an end phase if there are one or more persisting gambits. So
it's pretty easy with Worm Spat, with
I don't want to raid on your parade, but I think that the cycles go away at the end of the phase.
Do they? Or the end of the round?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, no. Well, Lumineth can do this then.
Lumineth can do it. There you go. All day, every day.
I think Starblood Stalkers can do it as well.
Yes. Yeah, they have I can't remember what they're called. Astro.
Yeah.
Somethings.
It would leave it to Wormspat to not get the card that they need.
To have an option. I'm actually going to go look this up now. Got to figure this out. Clicky, Wormspat, Rivals deck. Persists until the end of the round, or you play another cycle ploy. So, womp.
End of the round, yeah. No.
End of the round, yep. Say lovey.
No, end of the round.
Persists until the end of the round, and then Promise of Destruction is score this in an end phase if there are one or end of the round is after scoring. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yep.
You're good.
It's
not phase. It's round.
It's not phase. It's round. Yeah. There we go. Wormspat.
Bam.
Taking Silent Menace. Actually, in reality.
Maybe.
Not the worst one. Cool. So we like Impending Doom. And then maybe Cold-Blooded Killers.
Promise of Destruction.
Promise of Destruction.
Demolish the Opposition.
Demolish the Opposition.
What is it?
How about Untouchable Swarm? Just kidding.
No, definitely not.
No. Orchestrated Kill has play. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So maybe it's not as a deck on its own. It is not viable, but there are bits and pieces out of this objective deck that are pretty good.
Yeah, and then you got what is it? Marshall.
Oh,
God, my eyes. Martial Adept.
Oh yeah, one or more friendly fighters each have 3 or more upgrades, or you've got 2 attack action upgrades on.
Yeah, there are easier objectives in here than there are in essentials, but it's just they're not high glory.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so then we get to gambits. What do you think about the gambits?
I mean, I think the gambits are pretty good. Hypnotic Buzz. Choose one enemy fighter within 2 hexes of one or more friendly fighters. Push the chosen fighter 1 hex. Pushing an enemy fighter. It's pretty rare.
It is pretty rare. You can set up Impending Doom. You can set up Orchestrated Kill. You can set up Demolish the Opposition. I mean, it's definitely it's highly played in Championship.
Yep.
Wings. Membranous Wings.
Membranous Wings.
+2 move on a charge.
Yep.
Now, granted, you're not using it like we've seen in other scenarios where you're scoring a surge card.
Right.
But +2 move can really complement a slow moving warband.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, or help you keep a fighter safe.
Mm-hmm.
Until the time is right.
Well, it has to be with a charge, though. So,
well, yeah, no,
hold them back and slap me. Yeah, I
hold
get
them
what you're
back
saying.
and then
Yep.
slam them forward. You keep Septimus in the back, or you keep Fecula like all the way in the back until you absolutely need her to come in. Or it lets you protect a low wound fighter that you're going to tool up to be a missile, and then throw them in, do their job. I like Symbiote's Call. I mean, it's always nice to be able to either flip an objective or push towards a feature token, flip a feature token or push towards it.
Man, so I get to flip a token in my own territory and block that making the statement.
You do.
Ooh, man.
Yeah.
It's like it's good stuff right there.
It is like it's good stuff. So if you're playing aggro and you're pushing into enemy territory anyway, swarming advance is nice. So choose one friendly fighter in enemy territory, push up to 2 other friendly fighters 1 hex so that they are closer to the chosen fighter.
Yeah, free pushes for your backfield fighters.
Yeah.
Acidic Strike may not make the cut, but the fact that you have a limited pool might make it into. Then that one is reaction play this after a friendly fighter's successful attack action picks one of the target's upgrades and discard that card. I mean, nothing like taking a great fortitude off you and having you die. So, yeah, even hidden sting. Like if you roll a crit, it's a reaction. Play this after a friendly fighter's successful range 1 attack action. If there are 1 or more crits in the attack roll, deal a damage to the target. And then I'm not going to read Strength of the Storm, but if you're playing a mob warband, right? Yes. So then you have Orchestrated Kill, Impending Doom, and Strength of the Storm, which gives you dice or damage for multiple supporting fighters.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, and then you've got Swarming Strike. So this is the one that sets up
Orchestrated Kill.
Orchestrated Kill is the first friendly fighter to make an attack action, and the next activation is considered to have 1 additional supporting fighter. So.
Oh man, and Strength of the Swarm. This effect persists until after the Oh, it's not a I thought I was going to say persist all the way.
Yeah, but it persists until after the next attack action made by a friendly fighter. So you can play it, and then now your opponent is sweating. When is he going to make an attack action?
Actually, I play it in the fourth power step, and I let it persist all the way to the next round, and I score Promise of Destruction.
Oh, there you go. Nailed it.
Oh yeah, you know what? This is the strongest deck there is now. No,
yep.
It's not.
No.
Anyway, so we've covered almost every gambit in here, and we found uses for it. Again, like it's really got to complement a certain warband. And I gravitate to the swarmy style warbands anyway.
Oh, sure.
But there is definitely, if I was playing Dread Pageant, this one might fit pretty well. Like I'm going to get a kill. I don't know if they have a persisting gambit. I don't think so. But there could be some good synergy there. We already talked about the Purifiers and Nurgle, but I do think that there are warbands that can leverage this. I just don't think a lot of people have really looked at it, and Hypnotic Buzz is
so
really good.
It's really good.
And then you move into...
Well, I think Cunning Crew. Likes this one.
Oh, yeah.
So much support-based stuff. And then we'll get into this, too, with weapon attack action upgrades coming up. But I think the Cunning Crew... I don't think the Cunning Crew hates this one.
No, you're right. You are right. The Cunning Crew, this one would definitely...
Impending Doom and Orchestrated Kill. I don't think that they have a persisting upgrade or a persisting gambit, but still, Strength of the Swarm is great for them.
It is.
So.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great call out. Moving on to the upgrades. I mean, let's just hit it. Like Augmented Limbs. Is that not restricted in Championship?
Yeah, it is totally restricted in championship. Yep.
So that's a
Plus
really
plus one dice to range 1 attack actions. And you're a quarry, but I don't think quarry is going to come up that often in Rivals Plus. I don't think that much keys off of it.
yeah. I don't think quarry really matters in Rivals Plus.
But I mean, are you kidding me? Like Oberyn and Steelheart would love to have plus 1 damage. Toothjagger would love to have plus 1 dice. Wallop would love to have plus 1 dice. I think Morgok or Artskull, all of them would love to have an additional dice on there. Yeah, it's great. Who doesn't love accuracy?
Who doesn't? It yeah. So and then the spear, like the spear in this, like
even the chitin scimitars before you jump over it.
I did jump over it, so yeah.
Three for swords with cleave, and if you don't roll any successes, you get to reroll 1 dice. So, gosh, wouldn't that have been nice?
It would have been, and I'm second guessing because I use spears in my championship deck. Like, might put this spear in there for the reroll if you have no successes. I like that because nothing's worse
on 2
than
smash. Yeah, it's worse than rolling 2 smash. But then in championship, you reroll it and you block yourself from scoring contest of equals.
There you go. Yeah.
But then maybe the attack goes through, and that's probably better than scoring contest of equals anyway. Savage Soldier, another restricted card in championship format.
Yeah, Savage Soldier is really good, especially if you're going up against Reapers. Like, you want that cleave and ensnare. Granted, it's going to be a little bit harder in Rivals because it's like 4 upgrades to get there. But the plus 1 dice by itself is really, really solid. Silent Ring, like, because you're not going to have dual wits because you've chosen this. Silent Ring can get you that kind of ploy gambit, or I'm sorry, gambit and upgrade cycle going on, which is kind of cool.
I mean, I'm thinking about Hrothgorn. I'm thinking about Mollog. I mean, Canaan's Reapers. It's tough because every time I say that, I'm like, well, do they like these cards more than they like the Essentials pack, though?
Yeah. So the thing, because when I look at Silent Menace, I'm almost like, when you're playing Canaan's Reapers, why don't you put this instead of Essentials? And I think the biggest difference is Glory Seeker and Great Strength.
Yeah.
I don't think you lose a lot from the gambits, but you need the extra damage, and that is hard to come by in this deck.
Yeah.
But if I have access to 3 or 4 damage in my warband, it may not be as hurtful. But I do think, like, I think that Canaan's Reapers, and definitely the Cunning Crew, like you hit on the Cunning Crew.
Yeah. They really like this. I think that Gits could like it. I don't know if they like it as much as Illusory Might.
Yeah.
I guess the point is that as not good at all in a full Rivals format Silent Menace is, I think there's a lot to be had here in a Rivals Plus format. Yeah, especially if you have a pretty good choice of faction cards to start with. And you just can supplement some accuracy, supplement some damage with supports and stuff, supplement a couple of objectives. I think this could make a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think I would definitely go with the crew first. The Cunning Crew would be my first selection.
Yeah.
With this. And then I probably would try Canaan's Reapers. I would just have to look at how do I flush out my glory.
Yeah.
And then And then I probably go Wormspat. Because Wormspat can be pretty aggro. And I don't really need a ton of damage because to inspire, I don't want a ton of things dead. I just want plink damage everywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
So.
Well, yeah.
Huh. Cool. I think there are just options out there. I think Essentials is the easy pick.
Yes.
So if you're going to rate gold, bronze, silver, and gold, Silent Menace and Illusory Might, like, what are you giving them?
So I think Illusory Might gets a silver. I mean, I gotta say, depending on your choice, Silent Menace, it might be like 60% silver, 40% bronze, some sort of alloy.
An alloyed, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe a flip there. Maybe it's 60% bronze, but 40% silver. Overall, I mean, I think for Cunning Crew, I mean, we talked about this when we reviewed the Cunning Crew. They're hurting for damage, right? There's a lot of 2 damage in there, and it feels like Glory Seeker and Fighter's Ferocity and Great Strength would provide more persistent utility. But I don't know, getting +1 dice and +1 damage for having supports is pretty good, and then getting extras glory for doing what the warband wants to do anyway by crowding around people. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I think I'd kind of sum it up like this from an upgrade standpoint. Just purely upgrade.
Okay.
If I want damage, I'm going Essentials.
Okay.
If I want dice, I'm going Silent Menace.
Okay.
If I want weapons, I'm going Illusionary Might.
Okay.
And I
think that's fair.
And I think the gambits, I think that, like, obviously Essentials is the strongest. I think Silent Menace is a strong second because there's pushes and complementary damage, like different niche things. And I think IM is probably the worst from gambits. Like, they're just not.
You're just gonna say I am from now on.
That's it. I can't say that word. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And then upgrades. I'm sorry, objectives. I think the objectives is really the one that matters on your warband selection at all. Like, currently Essentials has the high end phase scoring with Pure Carnage, Making the Statement, Path to Victory.
I mean, even Conquest and Denial.
Yeah. Denial is a river.
It is a river in Egypt.
So yeah, I think that's where, like, the objectives would be based on the warband, but I think you're getting the same amount of objectives out of any of the selection. Like, if you take Silent Menace, you're probably taking 4 or 5. If you take Essentials, you're probably taking 4 or 5. And I think you just have to build differently because they are so illusion focused, that you just have to build the deck a little bit differently to get all the objectives out of there.
Gotcha.
And that's where I'm leaving it.
I like it. I think that makes sense.
Good. Hopefully it helps.
Yeah.
Hopefully next tournament we see a couple more things sprinkled in there.
Yeah. I think you've hit it, though. I think it's going to be really dependent on what warbands people bring. So cool. Well, yeah. So, well, why don't we take a break, and when we come back, we'll close out the show. And we are back, and that will close us out. This has been episode 35, Hex Ed Rivals Plus review. If you have not liked, subscribed, followed, whatever, we appreciate that. You can leave reviews everywhere. If the content that we're creating has been useful, reviewing it is probably the best way to help other people find it, other than direct referrals. And so, we'd appreciate that. We literally make no money from this. We just want to produce stuff that people are using. So
We want to grow the game. Grow
we
the
do.
game.
Grow the game. Yeah. So if we want it to be useful so that you can help your local community grow their Underworlds play. Yeah. This will be in blog form. The blog should be live whenever this episode gets published. So you'll be able to find it at blog.battle-mallet.com. And I think that's it. So I just want to say thanks again, Jason, for standing around and watching people play Underworlds for 6 hours on Saturday.
You're all very welcome. I'd like to watch Underworlds. I'd love to see the interaction, so I'll do it again soon. Maybe
I will just continue my streak of not getting glass, and I will volunteer as tribute to Tio the next one.
Never. I truly just like to watch Underworlds being played in any way, shape, or form, so I'm fine doing it.
Nice. Yeah, and you got to watch all the games all the time. So cool. Well, yeah. So I guess that's it. So for the Battle Mallet podcast, we are Swift Soldier and Impending Doom.
Oh my goodness. You're reaching.
Yeah, sorry. I could have done better, but I didn't. So this is what we have.
Essentially, you have nothing.
I should probably stay silent and
not be such a menace. I get it. I understand.
Yeah, and probably not have illusory dreams of greatness.
Yeah, it's so late you don't have the mic to continue, so it's all right.
This is Jared signing out.
And I'm Jason Tableton Marie. Thanks for listening. Get the hell out of here. Peace.
The Battle Mallet podcast is protected under the Creative Commons license. If you have further questions as to its use, you can find more information via links on podcast.battle-mallet.com. Music by Anno Domini Beats.
Born ready.
Born ready. Oh my God, it's Jason Born ready.